version of fake news and police helicopter cover-ups for October 24th. So 7:16 a.m. I was only rushing outside at this point in time because I had stayed up very late the night before because of the capitalized jumbo event where they set the fires. And so they tried to get this pass in before I came outside. So it was the mini remote control Blackhawk, but it was painted two-tone, white and blue. And I think this is the second time I had seen it. Before that, I had only seen it once in my backyard and traveling on a diagonal from the back left to the front right of my house, but closer out towards Geronimo Oliveira intersection. And so it did the military copter turn. It was traveling right to left in the fake police helicopter pocket across the street from me, behind the houses, and it was approaching from Geronimo Alicia, so it was on the diagonal. So instead of coming straight and then deviating and doing the diagonal, it came in on the diagonal, and then it made a right turn at 24191 and didn't go perfectly straight. So instead of just going straight down the houses of Solero Castilla block, it was drifting slightly diagonal across my street. So from the opposite side of the street to my side of the street, a slight diagonal. And they were doing the jumbo event, so the jumbo was the reason for the turn because a large jumbo went down over 24191 at the same time. And so one point about that is that they've used multiple aircrafts to have a turn there, but they've also had multiple reasons for the turn. So a jumbo jet being in the way was the reason for this one, but they've had other reasons, like Cessna's in the way of the police helicopter, and they've also just used Cessna's to turn, police helicopter to turn, fake civilian helicopters for the UN cover-up to turn. And so they have multiple reasons. They've also used a jumbo jet before to account for the Blackhawk descending, because that was a personal interaction too when I was trying to record them, and then they just descended. So then they did it again, and they blamed it on the capitalized jumbo jet, which they set the fire in order to send down on my roof anyways. And so at 8:10 a.m., the mini remote control two-tone Blackhawk was then behind my house, and he was in that fake routine route where they cross over my house now. So when they do the circle up around the park and through my neighborhood, and then they kind of turn off in the park and then cross over Solero Oliveira intersection, slightly up Oliveira, and then cross over my house, he was flying in that route. And that route is significant. For the most significant reason probably is because of the event at 11:30 at night where they flew over my house and led me out and then did power circles all the way down the street and then tried to get me all the way down to Caladad and further, and I wouldn't go. I kind of acted like I was special and going really slow, and then they turned the spotlight on because they're like, oh, we found him. And that's when I ran home, and then he chased me back home. And so some of the recent I'm making this on the 27th, and so some of the recent events are now accounting for him returning to my house, because multiple times when they let me out and I ran away, he would then return to my house angry and just insane. So at 1:13, the small white blue, or possibly the blue orange civilian, not civilian, but the small flimsy copter, was in the same line. And so that's significant, because if it was the blue orange, then they're flying it in the police helicopter routine line, which doesn't make sense because it's a civilian. And if it was the white blue, it would just be a problem because they're doing that cover up. And so also in context, at 1:34 p.m., they had a UN copter cover-up with a silencer. So it may be a UN copter cover-up, otherwise it's for the police helicopter cover-up, and it was the white-blue. Either way, it crossed over in that same line, and it would be more damning if it was for the UN copter cover-up. And at 3:33 p.m., a small two-tone white-blue silence rotor helicopter flew right to left in the fake copter pocket across the street behind my house, and then it did the military copter cover-up turn behind 2418191, and then it did pulses to cover up as it did the dart. So the cover-up for the event at 24092 down the street when he darted, and so they did the military copter turn, which was when the Blackhawk responded to me recording it, and that wasn't the only time. And then they did the cover-up for the speed darting away from my phone, which was another personal interaction. Then at 4:20 p.m., the small two-tone white-blue helicopter was flying right to left in the copter pocket, and it did a military cover-up turn at 24171. So 2 houses down. And then at 8:57 p.m. they had the drone out, scouting from behind the houses, hiding back behind the fake copter pocket route behind the houses across the street. Then at 9:13 p.m. the police helicopter flew down El Dorado Park from Montevideo Elementary School to Geronimo Montilla intersection. At 9:30, I saw a Cessna with flashing lights, and they don't only do the red flashing light, they also do the white and red flashing lights now to mix it up, and they fly it all around while the police helicopter's out, and they also fly it in his route, his fake routine route. And then so at 9:34, I actually saw the police copter in the pocket going right to left across the street from me. And then as he approached, he went down behind 24191 in the tree out of my sight, and he made a left and then drifted up and crossed over Castilla Olivera intersection, and then came up and did a left U-turn at Solero Olivera intersection. And then he sped up, and then he did a dart and flew out towards Geronimo Alicia intersection. And so that was to cover up for the fact that sometimes he's on his routine route there near my house, and then sometimes the cross over my roof isn't always on my roof, sometimes it's nearby. And then also the dart cover up, so he took off in a straight line. And then on top of that, part of it is the return to my house area cover up, like when they tried to leave me out and spotlight me, and then he chases me back home. And so then he flew out and he did the dart straight diagonal out towards Geronimo Alicia intersection, and he did pulse accelerations and changed his speed, and then he gradually slowed down until he was barely even floating, and then he turned on his white flashing lights. And I don't know if I was supposed to see that because I got up higher on the truck, and he was going so slow, so he just continued out straight like that to cover up for the straight line and the speed of it. And then they always change the lights and stuff, and in the progression, if I had my other YouTube accounts open, I could explain how they started acting like there were two helicopters, and there was a significant day when that started, when they flew two different copters out with silenced tail rotors, and then they started doing the lights and changing the lights and saying that it was two helicopters, and now we're at the point where they're saying that it was Cessnas with flashing lights.